we start off with this reading and I start looking at the cards, I'm just going to relay a quick image that I saw for you when I was shuffling out the spread. So I'm seeing a boat, okay? It's like a fishing boat. And it's a pretty big boat, and there's like a crew of about 10 men aboard this boat. And it's going out into, deep waters. And the storm starts raging in, the clouds start moving in, dark clouds form in the sky, and it starts to rain. So I'm seeing a series of like waves moving the boat along. And then I'm also seeing like, raindrops, lightning, and thunder. And the waves start to pick up, okay? So the boat is in the ocean, deep water in the ocean, and it's shaking a bit, okay? It's shaking back and forth due to the rippling effects of the waves. And then right behind it is this huge, giant waves that's about to crash down. However, it's not crashing down onto the boat, onto the deck to wash all the people off the deck and potentially put their lives in danger. It crashed down right before the boat. And so it crashes down and the water subsides and it pulls the boat on top of it, okay? So the image to me basically means it's a large body of water, which is, I feel, in the realm of emotion. So it's like you're going to be emotionally tried and emotionally tested. It's not anything that you cannot handle. And I also feel like this is a really good way for you to stretch those emotional muscles so that you don't let the environment, you don't let the things happening around you kind of like affect your center of gravity or even affect your well-being, okay? So that's the image that I saw. And when I was looking at this spread, I just feel like the money will bicker, will argue, will potentially, drag you in with them because they're looking at you and they want you to kind of like be the judge, to potentially take sides, to potentially, see both sides of the story and see who warrants, who's right and who's wrong. So I feel like there's, arguments and bickering potentially happening around you here with the Five of Wands. And this is like, small scale, petty arguments, who's right and who's wrong. And it's argument and some type of like thing stirring up between people. And I feel like, you're over here with the Temperance card, minding your own business, trying to, take care of your things, trying not to get swept along with the tides or get emotionally riled up. And yet, with this conflict happening around you, potentially with family members, co-workers, subordinates even, I'm hearing the word petty, so I feel like these are like petty arguments that in the greater scheme of things don't really matter and don't really have, and they potentially want your sense of judgment. They want your ability to see things in a very impartial manner, and they want your unbiased assessment of the situation. And they want you to, potentially get involved in it and see who's right and who's wrong, being the judge, and kind of, help them make sense of it. But I do feel that the situation itself, like I said, in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. But in this situation, I feel like for these people, it matters a great deal. And so they might, pull you in with them, okay? So needless to say that what we can do in these situations is to let people kind of like, fight their own battles, to let people to let people come to conclusions on their own, and to, remove yourself from conflict. If it doesn't really involve you or it doesn't really um, add to your life in a positive way in any capacity, I do feel it might be best for you to try to skirt these issues, okay? On the other hand, I do feel a potential reconciliation here, okay? So I have here a fire sign, potentially a Sagittarius person. The person is shown up here as the Nine of Wands. And fire energy with the wand suit. This is Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo. And I'm seeing a very, very strong Sagittarius person. Um, Either way, there might have been some type of conflict, disagreement, misunderstanding, or like I'm hearing somebody saying like you're undermining, the situation, or you are like neglecting the situation, or you are potentially neglecting, this person. So I feel like somebody is operating from a space where they feel neglected, where they feel like you didn't care, where they feel like you didn't make yourself available. For whatever reason, they just feel like, there's a little bit of a sense of neglect. And I'm sensing that this person is a little bit defensive, okay? This is somebody who has been through a battle, okay? And he or she is gearing up. Like they don't believe that it's over. They don't believe that it's done and over with. They don't believe that, it's safe now. They can sleep at night. They don't have to, sleep with one eye open and with the sword under their pillow or whatever. Or, they're so used to, battling it out. They're so used to living in this space of, constant adrenaline rush, and they can't really find any type of peace in their own life. And I feel like there might have been some misunderstandings or some type of conflict or whatever it is between the two of you. The energy is not completely smooth. And so I feel like there is communication coming in between you and this person. And I feel like for many of you, potentially this is coming, like you're initiating the conversation. You're reaching out, you're trying to, smooth things over. And I do feel that this person is a little bit more on the defensive end. And when we're dealing with someone who's a little bit more on the defensive end, it's really important to be clear with our intention. So for example, if you're reaching out to this person, you can't just drop them a line, because they're going to read so much subtext into what you're saying. They're going to read between the lines. They're going to mull it over. They're going to pick out and pinpoint, like imagine slice. They're going to twist your words out of context. So it's very, very important to state your intentions clearly. So I feel like for many of you, one of the ways in which you're communicating to this person, you might be like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a long time. Is everything okay? Or, hey, I haven't heard from you. Sorry about last time. How are you doing? So I feel like, being very crystal clear with your intentions, and also, being a little bit soft with your words, but also putting it out there that, hey, I'm concerned about you. I'm reaching out because I'm a little bit concerned. And I feel like this will allow the two of you to kind of, communicate again, to kind of hash things out, to kind of like, I guess like bring things out in the open so that you can talk about things, so that you can clear up confusion, so that you can clear up misunderstandings, and so that you can kind of like repair this relationship, okay? I feel for many of you, I feel like this is a relationship that for whatever reason never got off the ground, okay? And then I'm also feeling like you're dealing with someone who has been hurt many, 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 many times before. And so the way their energy shows up with this card once again is it's somebody that needs a grand gesture. Okay, I'm hearing like talk is cheap or words are useless. I want to see some action. So they're very, very action oriented, and I feel that in order for them to trust the intentions of another person, they don't want the words, they don't want the talk, they don't want, promises, they want actions, they want visible, tangible results, and they do want you to come in with some type of a grand gesture if you want to make amends, if you want to clear the air, if you want to make an offer. So I do feel here that there's this sense of like, having an opportunity here, like a do-over, in order to repair a situation with another person. I do feel at one point, we have here the Page of Cups and the Six of Swords. And at one point, there has been a very, very strong emotional connection between the two of you. The Page of Cups is about friendship. It's about, really liking another person, okay, liking them for who they are. It indicates to me innocence. It indicates to me like a situation where, you know, between children, they forgive and forget. Okay, I'm looking at the kids here in this riding this swan. It's like people forgive and forget. Okay, they don't hold grudges. They don't hold on to they don't hold on to, you know, they don't hold gripes. They don't hold on to bad feelings and negative feelings for a very long time. They forgive and forget. And in the greater scheme of things, they understand that, you know, it's all about friendship and like camaraderie. So what I feel here is, for some of you, this person might have been like a really dear friend of yours at one point, or like a very close confidant, and you guys share a lot of, you know, stories, a lot of secrets, a lot of it's somebody that you can really, if you've had a bad day, you can vent with them, you can vent to them, and you trust that whatever you tell them, they're not going to relay this information and tell another person. And so I feel that the relationship at one point was very mutual. You're able to confide in them, they're able to confide in you. And so to me, it seems like there's a very strong emotional connection. There's a great sense of trust between two people. And for whatever reason, this situation went south. So I feel like it might have been misunderstanding. It might have been lack of communication. It might have just been like, you guys might be at a distance from one another, and so you're hearing things through the grapevines. And I feel like it created like it just created a situation, these misunderstandings, to clear up these channels of communication so that we communicate and say exactly what we mean when we're trying to, you know, reach out and achieve like some type of mutual understanding or a connection with another person. So I feel like you have an opportunity here, a do-over, a second chance, and an opportunity to make things right and to clear the air and to, you know, repair some type of a relationship between you and another person. I just want you to know that I feel like they are a little bit defensive. And then I also feel like this situation, whatever it was, affected them a lot more than it affected you, okay? They see you as this, the Six of Swords. They potentially might have had a inkling that you've moved on. They might have felt like, oh, you would never come back. They might have felt like you would never initiate contact with them. But I do sense that when the communication comes in, it's going to be very unexpected. They're caught off guard. It's very unexpected from their end. They're looking for battle. They're looking for a fight, or they're anticipating some type of conflict. But what's coming through is a very heartfelt message, communication that comes from the heart, an offer of love, an offer of friendship here with the Page of Cups. And so it's coming in a very unexpected way, okay? So in the past, there might have been a lot of ups and downs between the two of you. And I feel like it's all geared towards like miscommunication, okay? And the two of you could, and what I'm seeing is, you know, Libras, you're, you know, seen as the sign that's very, very diplomatic, okay? The things that you say, the way in which you say things as well. I feel that, you know, you aim on the side of like being very either politically correct, being very, taking into account both sides of the story. So you err for the middle ground, okay? You're not very extreme when it comes to expressing your opinions, but I feel like this person is very opinionated, and when they feel something, when they're upset, they're going to voice their anger. If they believe in a specific, you know, ideology, a specific course of action, they're going to be very passionate about, you know, shouting out from the rooftop, whatever it is they feel. And so I'm sensing that in the past, whenever this person feels any type of a way, and they feel for you, I do sense that this situation affected them a lot more than it affected you. They feel for you, and I feel like the way that in which they express their feelings it might have been full of anger. They might have felt like, you didn't care for me, you didn't you didn't worry about me, you didn't even check on how I was doing, you abandoned me. Those are the words that I'm hearing. And so it's very like the anger is really on the surface with this person, but I feel like they're speaking from a place of hurt. They don't really mean it, but they're going to voice it. And so every time they go into this, rage mode, I feel that you might have retreated. You didn't know what to do. I feel like it also stirs up uncomfortable feelings for you and within you. And as a result of it, it was just easier to step away from this person, wait for them to cool down before you come back. And then in the process of, stepping away, waiting for them to cool down, I feel like they then felt a little bit abandoned. And so they retreat deeper or further and further and further away. And then before you know it, there's this emotional rift between you and this person. And I feel that the month of, and we're sailing away here from troubled waters. Okay, this is like moving away from a very, very turbulent state of being, choppy waters, high rising waves. Okay, really, I'm getting that image again. The men are out to sea. They've got things to do. They've got things to catch. That's their haul for the entire day, and yet they're not only fighting with the sea creatures, the things that they're catching, they're fighting the elements, they're fighting these waves. And the waves can feel very overwhelming because, they're like rising tall above the sail and the mast and above the ship, but it's a situation where it's not real, like it's not going to hurt you. The waves didn't crash down on the deck. It crashed before, and it brings the ship back up. Okay, so I feel like it's a situation where it's not comfortable to be in. It's stretching your emotional muscles in a way that is important for an air sign. Okay, and so I feel like this is a situation that requires the both of you to kind of like let down your walls and to kind of approach each other in the spirit of, friendship, camaraderie, and really thinking about one another in a way where it's like, let's make amends, let's solve this situation, let's mend that emotional rift, and let's try to understand one another. Okay, so I feel like there is an emotional situation here. It might have been very, very turbulent in the past. All the previous interaction with this person might have been turbulent, and yet you have an opportunity here to fix the situation. And I just want you to know that it's worth fixing, because I do feel like the other person, you might not fully understand what the other person went through. You might not fully comprehend how the other person feels about you. And so by letting your guard down and approaching them and having this conversation, I feel that it would open up a floodgate between you and the other person, so that you come to a state of mutual understanding. But more so, it's allowing you to really understand how this person feels about you, because I feel like they felt abandoned, they felt unloved, they felt uncared for, and they felt like you took the relationship very lightly. You're okay to move on, but they're not. Okay, so I feel like what you didn't realize at the time was they felt a great deal more about you than you might have felt about them. And this is something you might not have realized. And that's why they harbor a little bit more resentment, and they have that anger within them, as if they felt like you might have abandoned them. Okay? This is not to say that you did anything wrong, Libras. It takes two to, create a situation, right? It takes two to tangle, and there's always like differing perspective. But I feel like you understand things from your side because you're living that experience, right? But I also feel like as a Libra, we like to see both sides of the story. And so this is allowing you to kind of step over into their side of the story, in their point of view, wearing their shoes, to be able to understand how the situation emotionally really affected them. Okay? As a result of this reconciliation and clearing the air, what I have here is I have the Fool, which is a brand new beginnings, okay? And the beginnings here, it's wedged between two fives. So we have Five of Wands on one side, in the past, conflict. And then we have the Five of Cups, and the Five of Cups is about regrets, okay? I feel like whatever newfound knowledge that you can extract from this conversation, from this person, from this past situation, it's allowing you to see how your actions, I feel, affect other people. And what I feel about this is you might have, done things in a very light-hearted manner, and you feel like, oh, it doesn't really, hurt anyone, it doesn't really affect anyone. But in the process of understanding how it really deeply affected somebody that you care about, I feel like you're going to tread carefully. You're going to do things with a lot more purpose, with a lot more meaning. And you're also going to start to wonder as well, what kind of things or behaviors can I leave behind? The Five of Cups, crying over spilled milk. But at the same time, this is like an emotional response that we have to something. Letting go of pre-programmed emotional responses that might not be healthy. For example, shying away from conflict, not sticking around to have these difficult conversations. And then not being able to be very clear or very precise when it comes to the course of action that we decide to take, okay? So I feel like this person is boldly, I feel like they're boldly in the way that they are, in the way that they interact with you, and in the way that their personality is formed. They are very different from you, and as a result of it, they're teaching you a lot about emotional expression. Acting angry when you're angry, being upset. It's like they're teaching you that emotions are okay. If you're upset, show that you're upset. Scream, yell, do whatever it is. Let these emotions out. And then I feel like from your perspective, they're learning a lot about you, about emotional control, about emotional moderation. But at the same time, I feel like one of the major lessons that you can extract from this is knowing what type of emotional responses that you can leave behind that is no longer serving you, that's no longer healthy for you. And a lot of it is the conflict avoidance, okay? A lot of it is like when things get a little bit too heated, when things get a little bit too hot, you want to retreat, you want to withdraw. And I feel like over time, you might start to realize that when you withdraw like that, it might hurt the other person. It might make them feel rejected. It might make them feel confused, and they're not really sure why you are withdrawing, if it's something that's personal to them, that's why you're withdrawing, or if it's just a pre-programmed response that it's like a defense mechanism of yours. But explaining to this person these things and being able to understand these things within yourself, I feel that it is a very important lesson when it comes to, emotional maturation, okay? And so that's what I'm feeling here. The last three cards echo the same theme, okay? So first of all, there's a lot more communication coming through. We have here the Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands is like quick, fast, swift messages, information messages, clarity, and just having the sheer access to information and just the sheer amount of information that's coming through. I feel like there's a lot of communication back and forth between you and a person. And I do sense for many of you, this is like resounding, I'm hearing resounding, coming through from work, coming through from coworkers, coming through from, some type of a work institution, an educational institution, higher institution of learning as well. So I feel like there's a lot of emails, a lot of electronic communication, potentially a lot of phone calls, missed phone calls, playing phone tags and text messages and things like that needs to be answered in a timely manner. So I'm feeling a lot of communication coming through in the modern channels. So that needs to be responded to. They are quite sensitive. And so make sure that, whatever was sent, make sure it's read. And then whatever is read is responded to, okay? So I feel like you are going to be very high demand this month. And I also feel like there might be, especially if you're in a position where you're managing projects, handling people, managing people even, or doing both, you're going to be in very high demand to kind of like put out fires, to resolve things, to solve problems, to kind of like put things back in their place, or even put people back in their place. So that means a lot of, boundary drawing, and especially putting people like telling people where they belong. Okay, putting people in their place is what I'm hearing. And I do feel for many of you, there is a relationship here, and I have the Hierophant and the Four of Swords. Okay, the Hierophant is a relationship where there is a commitment and status involved. Okay, so this is like a relationship that is basically pretty serious. It's like, you're calling somebody your significant other, calling them your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and there's an element of family involved here where you know their family, they know your family members, etc. Okay, and so I feel as if there is a relationship here, and it might have gone a little bit stale. It might have been on the back burner. You might not have time to tend to it. And so I feel like there's an opportunity here as well to reassess the direction of this relationship. If you still want to stay in it, if you're still in love with the person, if you're still feeling, that sense of newness and vitality whenever you see this person, I feel like you're re-examining some things, or I feel that you are at least looking over some things, reassessing, and trying to figure out as well whether or not it is something that you want to stay in long term. And I feel like you are assessing whether or not to stay in this relationship, or whether it's still emotionally fulfilling for you. I feel that there's a little bit of an emotional rift between you and a partner, especially if you are dealing with a water sign, okay? So a Pisces, a Cancer, or a Scorpio, especially if you're dealing with a water sign. I'm sensing that they really reached out and solicited you in the past, but you might have been busy. You might have not trusted their intention, or you might, for whatever the reason is, there was something going on that was like on the front burner for you, and so you might not have return this person's advances. So I feel like, they were reaching out. They wanted to be near you. They wanted to be close. They want to kind of like strengthen that emotional connection, or at least they wanted to connect with you emotionally. But I feel like for whatever you were dealing with before, the connection was not strong, or the connection wasn't really reciprocated from your end. There's an opportunity here. If you feel this is something that you still want, there's an opportunity here to kind of fix the situation. So we have a lot of do-overs here. And then if this is not a connection that you no longer feel emotionally invested in, and I feel like for many of you, it could be a marriage even. And I feel that with the Four of Swords, it's like a stoppage in communication, stoppage and lack of movement when it comes to, seeing eye to eye, being able to communicate with each other in a way where information things get communicated. Okay, so I feel like it might have just been like communication that is not meaningful, that's being shared between the two of you, or there has been a lack of communication. If there has been a lack of communication, I feel between you and a specific person that is quite prominent in your life, you might have felt like they walked away. You might have felt that, it's over and done with, and you might have felt that there's no opportunity for it to come back together, or to resolve the differences, or even to clear up the air and clear up the misunderstandings. I do feel like there's an opportunity here for two people to really come together and try to fix this situation, okay? So that is all that I have for you here. And I'm not seeing anything to indicate to me like financial woes or anything like that. And so in the world of tarot, no news is always good news. Okay, so I feel like once again, this reading is heavily relationship focused, as it has been for your sign for the past few months. And so I feel that there's opportunities here for do-overs, for reconciliation, for making things right and making amends, and to, clear up the air with another person. And I feel that you're treading into an emotional realm that you are not 100% comfortable in, and I feel this unease in Pisces. Pisces is it's like the boundless ocean. Okay, it involves a lot of healing. It involves a lot of letting go. And the boundless ocean, the bottomless ocean, or the ocean with the body of water without limits, what it means to me in general is that we can forgive and forget. We can learn to, um, we can learn to let a lot of things go, and we can release resentment and release all of the emotional baggage that we've had in the past, because the ocean washes away everything and makes things clean. And so what I feel for this month is you're exploring and charting the emotional waters that you might not have been willing or able to in the past. But I feel that the month learn to forgive another person, or even letting the other person, make amends and to forgive past transgressions, okay? So I feel like it's a really therapeutic month for many of you. Just be very clear with communication so that, we don't have cross wires, so that we don't dig ourselves deeper and deeper into into further miscommunication and misunderstandings. All right. I do hope the reading finds you well, and I hope that it has been helpful in unraveling some of the things that you might be questioning or might be going through for this month. I wish you all the best, okay, Libras, and I'll talk to you guys soon. For those who are interested in a personal reading, I do have a link in the description box below. It is for a psychic out of California. She's very amazing. She's a great reader. So I highly recommend, if you are in need of guidance, if you're looking to book a reading for you or anybody you know, please click on her link and book an appointment directly through her website. And if you like the cover, the icon that I use for these videos, it is also by an artist, a different person, an artist based out of California. I've also included her link in the description box below if you're interested in purchasing or even commissioning art pieces. Please click on her link and see the stuff she has available, okay, in her style as well. I will talk to you soon. Take care of yourself.